Thank you so much for being back here again, Brianne. For those of you that have not watched all of the videos in this segment, I encourage you to go back and look. Brianne is a mom, probably first and foremost. Now she'll probably identify herself as a mom. 4 months ago, she had a son Ander, and she's also an elite athlete, like not competing now, but has also always been training at a high level and is even an Olympian. And we've touched base as a way to kind of help other women, especially athletic women that feel like they need some guidance. I think it's hard for athletic women. From what I hear is that you're kind of like, oh my gosh, like I keep hearing about all these scary things that have to do with having a baby, and I don't want to do any like quote unquote damage. I don't want to do things wrong, but I also identify with sport and exercise, and I want to be able to do my things too. So anyways, thanks so much, Brianne. Yeah, thank you. We'll just keep talking and talking.
No problem.
But I'm going to pass this over to her right away, but I just thought I'd quickly let you know that we were going to touch base 6 weeks after she had Ander, because we wanted to do a segment kind of like, now that she's going to see the PT, everything we've done together so far has basically been virtual. And we were talking about the importance of going to see someone for an assessment. And at 6 weeks, she was planning on doing that. And then COVID ruined everything. So last time we talked, I thought, let's just wait until you go to see the PT, and then we can kind of tie this all together. And so I thought, maybe, why don't you start by just really quickly, last time we talked, you were about 3 weeks postpartum, and you were saying some of the things that you had been working on the program, the Mommy Berries program that I had put together. And why don't you just give us a quick rundown on kind of what you were doing from about that 3-week mark until now?
So at 3 weeks, I think was kind of when I hit my my limit on non-exercise. I know most doctors will tell you, no exercise besides mild, like short, easy walks before 6 weeks postpartum. And I had just kind of was like, I have to do something. I'm going nuts here. So I got on the stationary bike, and I kind of started doing some of that stuff, just because it wasn't, I guess, challenging my pelvic floor as much as like running or something would. And it started out just totally fine. I wasn't able to stand up and bike, just because it felt like the bounce was a little bit too much. But over time, slowly started to be able to stand up and do harder workouts and really push it a little bit, with no like leaking or no weird feeling at all. I tried running at 2.5 months, and it was just no go. It didn't hurt. It wasn't, more sore after anything, but it was just like weak. Like I was just slowly leaking urine the whole time, and was really like sort of defeated by the whole thing. And remember, I actually talked to the PT that I was supposed to go see at 6 weeks postpartum, and she said, I really don't recommend anybody to start running before 3 months. Just give it a little bit of time. And so I just remember being really defeated. Then our appointment kept getting pushed out and pushed out and pushed out. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to slowly start running again and try something different. And I actually used to do hill workouts. And so I said, let me just go try to run on the hill. So I didn't jog there. I just got to the hill, and I found that running up the hill was way better than running flat. And I was able to do, 4 runs up the hill at first. And over time, just extended it and extended it and extended it until I was able to do 10 to 12 hill sprints and jog there really slowly. And so by the time I got to see her, which was last week, so it was like just past 4 months postpartum, I was able to jog to the hill, which was about, maybe a kilometer and a half, and then do 10 hill sprints, about 100 meters, and walk down. And so just slowly progressed on my own, made sure that I didn't do anything that was hurting. Every once in a while, there would be a little bit of leaking. If there was, I would stop the workout and kind of go bike or do something else. But I was just really cautious to make sure I wasn't pushing it too much.
Totally. And I think that's like, I think at the end of the day, that's one of the things that we wanted to get out to women, is that you don't need to sit and wait for like to be able to see someone in person. It's very valuable to go see someone in person, but I think that there's a lot you can do in those first weeks or months to set yourself up, not only to educate yourself about the changes your body's been through, but to kind of slowly progress and almost like prime those muscles to be able to do more. And I think that that's something that we don't really acknowledge, is that like our body has kind of like a 6 or 8 week window where we need tissue healing, period. Like no matter how fit you are, to go through something like that, childbirth, you need time for the tissues to heal and to be able to like regain some tensile strength, right? And so that's where she's talking about like not really advised to run before 12 weeks, is that you need time to heal, to set yourself up for success. But that doesn't mean you don't need to do anything, or you can't kind of get ready to push the body a little bit more. And so I think that that's good, like that you worked on all of the things that you could do before and kind of get to know the limits of your body, because what you're feeling is going to be different than what someone else feels, but you kind of recognize that threshold, right? And like what you can push past. And then I think it's really important to go see someone that can assess you and then be able to say, okay, Brianne, like these are the reasons you're experiencing X, Y, and Z. Let's tackle that. Because your friend Sarah might go say the same physio, and you guys are talking, you had your babies also 4 months ago, and Sarah feels like intense vaginal pressure when she runs. You know what I mean? It could be very different. And so I think that that's really good. I mean, you set yourself up to, I mean, figure it out, for your body to figure it out. And yeah, I think that that's good. What about like, what would you say then for other women, like we were just talking about before we hit record, like if you were watching this, or some of your other friends were watching this, what kinds of things do you think are important for them to know? Just in, what do you wish you would have known, or what's your big take home from all of this that you think other people would benefit from?
I think for me, there's a few things. For me, it's I wish I would have known, or would have had the resources to understand that I wasn't the only one kind of taking a while to get back into fitness. Like I know everyone drills home. You have to let your pelvic floor recover. You have to let, if you had tears, you have to let all that recover. I get it. But I kind of thought like once it recovers, it's recovered. And then you just kind of go back to normal. And which was probably, naive of me as an athlete to not realize that I was going to have to build strength back up. I think what I was surprised at was how long it took to build that strength back up. And some days I, was really defeated and felt like I'm the only one that's taking this long for this to happen, especially when I was used to running every day. And that's how I got like my fix, and I just biking or walking, it just like wasn't doing it for me. And I was almost getting depressed. And so having, maybe somewhere where I could hear from other women that were saying, I didn't run till 4 weeks postpartum. And then this is kind of how I progressed. And then it went quickly as soon as I kind of, was able to start running. Or I started running at 2 months postpartum, but then I sort of relapsed at 3.5 and started leaking it. Just any sort of information would have been helpful to know, like, okay, it's normal. What I'm experiencing is normal. Would have been really helpful. And I think that maybe just having other women to talk to about how they progressed through things. I think one thing that I did do well, as you mentioned, was not just sitting around and waiting to see somebody. That part of that is probably just the need to exercise, and having had an athletic background, knowing how to progress through an injury, like coming back from an injury was helpful. Just doing what you could, taking it little bits at a time. Acknowledging like the progress you're making, because sometimes that's really hard for me to do, at least. Is just say, wow, I actually was able to do 1 more hill sprint than I was last week. And, typically I'm like, I want to do 10 more this week than I did last week. And so I think those were, being able to hear from other women, kind of their experience and how they progressed, but then also, just pushing myself a little bit, but not too far in terms of coming back to exercise.
I think it's a good idea to kind of almost keep a journal of it, or a document to be able to see. Because like you said, I think that as long as you see, if you can look back and see progress, I think that's important. Yeah. that's what I feel like I'm trying to always learn throughout this process for myself too. And because I'm only in Kelowna, like that's the only place that I see people, but there's people everywhere looking for some sort of guidance after, and all sorts of different pieces of the guidance. And that's what I tried to do from the Mummy Berries program the best I could, is just give people a starting block, or starting like to progress, right? To just a few stepping stones to start with and get to know your body a little bit. I have also like started to create a bigger community, like a Mummy Berries community, that I think would start to answer some of those questions that you have. Is like it's a community that is open to women like during and after pregnancy. It's a place where I answer people's questions, and I've actually had another couple therapists join me too, so that I can respond to all the questions out there. But we also do every week now for 30 minutes a Q&A on a specific topic. We just talked about like return to running, or but I think it's a place where you can come for like credible information, and that there are therapists that are giving the answers, because I know there's a lot of information you have to dig online, right? And so it's a place where I feel like I can plug some of those holes. And so I think that that's a good resource for people, because I understand it's like you sit at home and you're like, now what? Like, what am I supposed to do, and where do I fit into all of this?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, I really appreciate you taking the time to do this for the benefit of so many women. And I think that you bring up so many important points. I think that it's excellent that you are willing to be kind of open about your symptoms, because as you probably know from talking to some of your friends, like we experience such weird, embarrassing symptoms as like women, even before we have babies. And I think it's important to talk, and for people to feel like they have a place that they can get help. So I appreciate it.
No
Okay.
problem. Thanks for all you're doing for
Yeah.
helping us. Because I think I would have been, well, I know I would have been lost in this whole, postpartum period, had it not been for, your help, you actually checking to see what was going on with me, and your Mommy Berries program. I mean, it was just like to know that I was doing something to kind of move forward and get back to like normal life, was just so helpful, both like physically and mentally for me.
Mm-hmm. Totally. And I think, like I said, you speak for so many women, and yeah, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. We'll see you later.